Hey, welcome to Odd Music, episode number 302. I'm going to be hosting here today by myself. Scott is gone today. He's at a event with Team Titans of Real Estate. So I will be covering this today. Just I thought I'd do a little different show today than normal. And sorry, my phone's playing in the background. Going to talk a little, I guess, a little more about me and Boomtown Press and Boomtown Scabs, how that got started, about maybe a couple of little things. I am going to do something a little different here. So I've copied the link here. So anybody has a webcam and wants to join me on air today, maybe ask some questions, hang out for a little bit, open it up. Why not? Something a little different here today. So let's get started here. I got to get some ad reads in first. Let's start off with Loringer Family Chiropractic Center PC, located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. They take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital x-rays, orthotics, pivot levelers, young limb essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give a call, 734-697-4244. That's their Belleville location. You can visit them online at LoringerFamilyChiropractic.com. Of course, we have the link at Facebook here is where it's located as well. You can like as well as call now. They got a lot of changes coming up. They're going to be getting rid of massage therapy. They're going into, besides chiropractic care, some rehab stuff dealing with the nurse. I'm not sure all the specs, but they'll be able to roll it out soon once we have the information. We'll relay it during the ad read, so we can help out with that. And then we also have, so let me just switch gears here. For our sponsors here, Team Titans of Real Estate. Scott likes to say, why? Because you matter. So here goes the page there. And there they are. There are Scott and Jill. And today they are at till noon in Sterling Heights Warren Senior Expo, which is in Sterling Heights, Michigan. They're talking about real estate. Of course, real estate is for anybody. There's people that as you get to be a senior, they look at different options, downsizing, things like that. So I'm sure they're talking a lot of that. So definitely check them out. But you can always give them a call, 586-232-5144. You can schedule a free consultation with Scott or Jill, and they'll be happy to take care of you on any of your real estate needs. And you can see down some of their posts here, they can help you find your dream home. And the most recent posting they had is pending. So a lot of cool stuff going on there. Real estate is hopping, things are going on. So definitely check out Team Titans of Real Estate. And of course, I did Scott Zambelli there. So it's me today, just me. So this is kind of a unique kind of thing. I was supposed to host by myself a while back, got sick one day, and I wasn't able to host. I know Scott's done a couple times. I like to talk about a lot of real estate, different times, things like that. I bore you with shift stuff, but it's just grocery shopping. I mean, it's a gig job. Gig jobs are fun. It allows me to have a flexible schedule to do what the passion is. And passion, of course, has always been really comics and creating and writing and stuff like that. So definitely a lot of cool stuff there. So I'm going to try to share some stuff with you here. Let me close that out. There's a lot of different things here. So I was trying to think out today what to talk, and this is what kind of came to mind today. Cancel that. A lot of cool stuff on StreamYard to keep changing. I have to always find stuff. So bring this image up here. Let's see if I can share this image here. Because this is kind of where it all started. So share screen, window. There it is right there. So check this out, guys. So to the left there is John. On the right is me wearing a Cardinals jersey. And then in the center there is Antonio Fargas, who played Huggy Bear back in Starsky and Hutch, did a lot of the different types of blaxploitation movies in the 70s. Got to be at the very first Motor City Comic Con that John and I were actually set up at selling issue 1 of Boomtown Scabs, the very first comic we ever created. I thought I'd talk a little bit about John for a minute and things like you may not know if you've been following. Unfortunately, John passed away. We were hit by a drunk driver in 2006. He passed and is unfortunately no longer with us. Wish he was still here today. We'd still be making some great comics together. But him and I got together and we've been friends pretty much our whole lives. Said, hey, let's do a comic. And he had some ideas for some heroes. And so we started working on the heroes, and I'll be showing some images on that stuff. And then I started writing the script, and we worked on the script together, and eventually became this full comic in that. So, but at first Comic-Con we ever did together, Antonio Fargas came by, actually bought a copy of the comic for his grandson. And so it's always kind of cool when people do that. Not met Antonio since then. Don't know if his grandson ever liked it. This was back in 2005. So it has been 18 years. Can you believe that, guys? 18 years I've been actually in professional comics. And professional means means you've actually done it. You did the work. You put the work out there, and stuff like that. And so much has changed since then. The things I do, still working on Boomtown Scabs. I'm working on issue 5 right now. Been doing some inking on that right now. Still got some more pages to draw, but I wanted to get some pages inked, colored, and finished before the next Motor City Comic Con, which is in May. And I'm gonna get everything together, have a trade completed. But there will be issues available for issue 5 for those that like to collect the digital issues. I will make those still readily available. Of course, one of the big changes you can see in this picture here for me is my hair is not as dark as it used to be. It's kind of got a little gray there. So, and of course, comment in the comments here if you guys have any questions, things like that, about what I'm talking about today. So, how did Boomtown get started? Well, I kind of mentioned it there. John and I, we've been friends our whole life and that stuff. And, we'd gone our separate ways for a few years, and we kind of got together, hanging out a little bit again. And as we hit our 30s, in fact, John had just hit 30, and I was 33. And we were like, we talked about doing comics, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this idea." So I said, well, "I know I can write it." 'Cause I always like to write and stuff like that. But we like, so we sat down, and that's where we hashed out the ideas for the characters, and they were replacement superheroes. They each had their own powers, and they're kind of reminiscent of some other characters out there. I mean, there's basically only so many archetypes you can do, but we wanted to create a comic that anybody could read, so not just adults, kids. Because the thing at Comic Cons is, you'll see a lot of comics out there that are in Artist Alley that are a little more adult, and um, nothing wrong with that. I like reading them. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, they're not full on, hitting rated X, but there's a lot more violence, language, things like that. Some nudity. I've seen a lot out there where people has a booth babe, and they put the booth babe in their comic, sort of trying to sell it that way to attract people because having a cute girl sometimes will sell comics. I personally like story. I like good artwork, stuff like that. So a lot of stuff I buy so people that do good stuff, kind of like Dave Brown. Actually, I talked to him a little bit yesterday via messaging. I was seeing if he was available. Unfortunately, he wasn't, and he's got some great books out there. And then, of course, my friend Terrell, who I've supported his comics over the years, like that. One of the guys I worked with is Adam Talley. Now he does a lot more adult stuff, but he has his online web comic, which is still, I would say, technically adult, but not the erotic stuff he does as well. But it's all mixed of stuff. So there's people I like, people I follow, and stuff like that, and a lot of it's the independent stuff. And then you get into the Main Street comics. There's a lot of great DC, Marvel stuff out there. Currently for DC, I have been reading the Batman Joker duo. Our buddy Kevin, who we do Bardstown with, turned me onto that, and waiting for the next couple issues to come out. Picked up the first 5, and just a phenomenal read. Silvestri's doing it. The artwork's fantastic. Love the style, love the writing. I hadn't read a Batman comic in years, and it's been just kind of a nice refresh to get back into reading some Batman. Because I read a lot of the independent stuff out there. Main things I'm reading lately has been Amazing Spider-Man, Firefly. I've got the I Hate Fairyland Volume 2 is out. It's starting to come out now. Scotty Young's been doing that. I love Volume 1, so I got back to Scott Volume 2 on that, and things like that. But it's comics I love. So that's kind of, I love reading them. So we wanted to create our own. We'd always talked about it. And finally we said, okay, let's do it. So we came up with it. And in 2004, we pretty much had a lot of it done. And we went to, well, actually, I volunteered, and then and I got in for the whole weekend for the Motor City Comic Con in Novi. At the then was the Novi Expo Center. And so we split the cost of a 3-day pass. So John came in. So we spent the whole weekend hanging out, and we got to talk to some great people. A few people we talked to was Matt and Trace from Web Comics. Don't know if they have. I know Matt posts online. Here we go. There's their Facebook. I will pull up their Facebook for you guys. These guys were definitely instrumental in helping us figure out what to do. And at the same show there, um, was a company that's no longer involved, Preeny Press. They were out of Windsor, and they had a booth that said, "Hey, get 2,000 comics printed for $1,000, black and white interiors, full color cover." So that's how this got printed, black and white interiors. We were going, it's cost, and we split the cost on stuff like that. But Matt and Trace talked to us about, what they do to create comics. They were using them to print their comics, and they've been around for a while. Matt posts a lot of lately. He does a lot of cool paintings and stuff like that. They have a lot of their different books out. Uh, Love reading their stories, so definitely check out some of their stuff at the. I believe they should be at the Motor City Comic Con. They have an Etsy store, things like that. But a lot of how we got started was because of Matt and Trace, and I appreciate them a ton. Here we'll go to the other page here. There we go. That's a better page than the Facebook page. So I'll switch over to that. This one here is their Their webcomics.shop, and this is where you can actually buy some of their comics, buy paintings, things like that. Great stuff. Bad Burrito, awesome read. Love that one. Bunch of issues on that. They've got Drake, which is fun. Dark Fury, which is really how we got turned on to these guys, was through the Dark Fury. That's a trade paperback, collects all of them. And then they have a Bad Burrito collecting issues 1 through 4, a trade, stuff like that. So definitely check out those stuff there. Now, why do I mention kind of harping on these guys a little bit? Part of it is because it really is important. They spent a lot of time with us that weekend. We read their comics, loved it. They were excited. We were excited. We talked about our comic. We showed them stuff that we had, stuff like that. And we got in touch, and became friends with them. And we picked their brains, said, what do we do? How do we do this? You've setting up at a Comic Con, you think, here's a table, throw your stuff out. Hopefully people come up and buy it. And we just started to see what they did and stuff like that, and see what other people did. We started learning from there. So the very first Comic Con we had our Boomtown Scabs, and it was $2 a comic. I mean, that was so. Of course, I'd have a lot of ones, for change. So we had to have a lot of ones for that. But we're like, yeah, it cost us 50 cents a comic. We're selling for $2, making $1.50 profit. We were happy with that. Of course, things have changed. Costs have gone up. I can't get them that cheap anymore unless I'm going to buy thousands. I mean, like 10,000 of them. I wish I could. Can't afford to do that. So you'll notice a lot of my comics going up. And even issue one now, I know I'll sell for a lot more because I'm getting low on the original first printings. And this is kind of one of my display copies. It's got a little bent and stuff like that. So I do sell these at shows for $10 right now. But I do a deal if you're buying the current 4 issues where you get all 4 for 20, which I'll have at the Indiana Comic Con as well as the Motor City Comic Con. So like I said, I was just wanted to talk about them a little bit because if they hadn't helped us out, I mean, I'm sure we would have still done this, but it was nice to actually have people that want to do that, because I've seen people in Artist Alley that won't give you any information. They won't tell you anything. They don't want competition. And that's what I've been told by people over the years. I'm like, well, there is no competition. People like what they like or don't like. And the thing is that the more we help each other out in different endeavors, the better everybody is. And we've talked about that. Scott and I have, and stuff like that. So so we got that going. So we do our first show, and it goes great. We sell a bunch of comics. We're all excited, stuff like that. And we just kind of start going from there. We end up doing a few different shows here and there. But I wanted to talk a little bit about also the creation of the Boomtown Scabs before I get too much into anything else here. So I'm going to bring up a page here. Let me switch screens again and share my screen. There's a window. There it is. And of course, this is a better way to see the cover. This is the verse cover of our comic, Boomtown Scabs. The basic premise was this group here is the replacement superheroes. The original Boom Squad disappeared fighting a galactic menace. And I'm going to kind of zip through some of this stuff here so I can show you some of this stuff. That's Baron Terror. He's kind of our Lex Luthor, our ultimate, villain here. Kind of shortening that a little bit so I can see it better. Actually, I want to do a switch screens over here. Over there. There we go. That's a little better. And then I like having 2 screens. I have my drawing tablets over here too. So we will do this with Baron Terror. And then, John's dad was really excited we were doing this. We dedicated to him. John's dad, unfortunately, has passed as well. But at this point, that was a Tigers game we took him to. He had multiple heart attacks and strokes and things like that. But he was just super excited John was doing something that he really loved. So I said, let's throw your dad and we'll just thank him for it. We had an extra page. We didn't know what to do. But it all starts with the first page. And this is a page that actually came about after the fact. We were like, we had a different page set up, and then I said, we're talking about this. I said, let's just throw a little this in there. And this was we kind of done the story, and I said, went back and rewrote this into the script and that. So it's who is the new Boom Squad? And that's the whole thing on this. And this of course talks about the original Boom Squad. And that's kind of the group there. Think a little like Justice League, Justice Society, stuff like that. That's who they were. It was that type of superhero group. We've been referenced by people that know this old cartoon called The Mighty Heroes. It comes from the 60s in terms of humor and things like that. And while we didn't emulate the exact hero stuff like that, we have comedy, and it probably just rubbed off naturally on us for all the different stuff we loved in cartoons and things like that. But it was just all about going through this whole thing. And of course, there's Baron Terror. The whole process, once the Boom Squad disappeared, crime goes rampant. So Baron Terror basically takes over New Jersey, and he calls it a fixer upper. And we have some jokes in here that some people will be like, "Oh, I can't believe you're just trash." We're not trashing Jersey. I mean, it's a joke that's always been around in different years and stuff like that. So we just had stuff in there, different crimes, being shown there. Even the robber stealing from the bag, and the old lady stealing bags of money too. And then of course he goes on the internet. Now, of course, you got to think about this. 2004, the internet was going, stuff like that, and so we're like, yes, what would we do? Yeah, he'd go on the internet, try to find a superhero group. So he finds these five, and he sends them out the invites, and in that. So kind of going through the whole story here. I hope you guys will still want to read it. I'm just gonna go through the whole story. I want to talk about this, and you'll notice this is black and white. We originally did it in color, and I've got some of the color files, but I hope to go back and actually recolor the whole thing, do a few edits, probably update some of the wording a little bit and things like that. But of course, you'll notice things like they all think they want a 50-inch plasma TV. Of course, plasma TVs aren't around anymore. Everything's gone to LED and different things like that. So that's kind of shows you the time reference that we had. And of course, everybody wanted a plasma TV back in 2004 and five. And of course, that was the primary thing. And of course, being that's Foley doesn't always spell things right. So of course, he put congratulations to the congratulations. When he speaks, the dialogue you see for his text is a little different and stuff like that. But this is, and of course, I've got a few different issues available. So the first issue, telling you the story isn't going to give away too much. Each issue is self-contained. So here, of course, is all the heroes showing up, and they want to, be part of the team. And of course, then we've got the one hero there, and you kind of see him right here over in the corner. He's got his suit. You might remember there was costumes back in the 80s where you would blow this top part to be a headpiece, so like an alien or different things. That's what we based that on. That was just a fun little superhero show up, and he won one of the prizes. And then of course Foley's favorite waitress from the Caribbean restaurant, which is like a Starbucks, wins the TV. The other guy wins a necklace that he gets to give to his mom and things like that. And then the rest of them won a lifetime membership as a superhero group. And of course, being typical, comic stuff like that, they just like accept it and go from there. And of course, we like to have some different fun little jokes, stuff like that. So we've got like Foley basically just wrecked a bathroom. And then of course their villain detector goes off. He goes with the VD and it flares up. So yeah, it's a little, I think a little Warner Brothers, almost adultish humor. The kids don't get it right away. Adults get it and kind of laugh, but there's nothing, more than that in these things here. And of course, we did have Lady Liberty come to life, and it's brought to rather by the main villain, they meet there in the bottom corner, who is the street magician. You can think a little David Blaine-ish and stuff like that, but it was we call him the street magician. And of course, we have a friend, Matthew, and he lives here in the States and has for many years now, and he works in DC. He's a doctor, was a professor for a while at Carolina Coastal University, I believe it was. And being French, of course, we kind of joke a little about that. And this is our joke to Matt. So Matt, sorry, man. I'm going to blame John for this since he can't get after him, but it was kind of both of us. With French, basically they're called French because they basically retreated. We were not a complete joke because the French aren't all retreaters, but that was kind of a joke on that. And then, of course, the street magician is doing his stuff. And Atomic there, he's our big guy right here, is all excited and, different stuff like here. So, of course, this is where the battle kind of ensues, and they have all these different gadgets. Critter who can turn into anything, turns into different things. She turns into a rat, thinking of like Ricky Tikki Tavi, going after the snake rope that was there. Joke about fiber. Now, this is an important page, and I'll get into this a little bit as I talk about Boomtown Press down the road here more. In this page right here, when we were done with this comic, we got it printed the night before the very first Comic-Con we did at Motor City Comic-Con. We were trying to think of something else to have behind just books. We didn't have any prints. We didn't have any artwork. John was going to do some doodles. If people wanted sketches, stuff like that. We were just still, again, figuring all this out. And we're sitting there, and I was like, man, we should do, like a little extra, like, I don't know. So we were just talking about making this like a Ashcan, which is a small, you print at home comic. But I convinced John, I said, well, let's just do a full comic and not do an Ashcan. Because you can do multiple pages. It's better to have it regular print anyways. So we created, from this panel, I said, we should do The Adventures of Carl. He goes, who's Carl? I said, open the book. I said, here's our Carl right here. Now, of course, he's a white rabbit in this, and we changed him up to be a different character in this. And I'll show you some images of him later on that. But this is where the birth of the Adventures of Carl came from. For those that know my books, have seen my stuff. He became for the first 5 conventions we did. We did a mini comic for each one, just printed them ourselves. We did black and white interiors, full color cover. Eventually, I went and recolored them and then reprinted it as a trade. Um, about this time, I was working as a copier salesman, and I had access to a free copier. So, of course, I ran free prints of Carl all the time, and then we sold those for $1. I mean, it was they cost us nothing but paper, and my where I worked at, because they had given me my own color printer at the time to do it. And they go, yeah. I mentioned to them, I said, could I do this? They're like, yeah, you do this so you can learn how to use the copier when you explain it to people. So I did that for the 2 years that I sold copiers, and it was great. So we had a bunch of these to sell. A lot of people may still have them out there. Um, if not, you can get the trades. I have a trade available. You can get it through Amazon. I also have a digital link I'll be talking about later. But so here is the official birth of Carl uh, during the Angry Bunny assault. Now you'll see Battle Pack here. He's over there. Looks like the cannon. Now, one thing about him is his pack brings out anything he wants. So whatever he wants to bring out, it's like it makes it and brings it out right away, because he's a genius. He's a mechanical genius in that. And the only stipulation is it's non-lethal. So that's why they're getting hit with like water balloons, stuff like that. He's about subsumed. No one here is looking to kill anybody, maim them, or anything like that. I mean, that's what bad guys do. These are good guys that are trying to save everybody. So, and he does not believe in the hurting of people other than to subdue the bad guys and stuff like that. And of course, John and I I still am Kevin Smith fans, Kevin, Jay, and Silent Bob. So we had our versions called Ray and Quiet John. They are skeletons that were raised from the dead out of the East River. Uh, and then, and unfortunately, they're bad guys. So that's why you do see Quiet John smoking, though we don't actually show any smoke. He's just got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Uh, and again, that was kind of a more adultish thing. Kids are going to see it, but we don't encourage smoking at all. Um, and then even some of the lettering here, like recognize, stuff like that. The reason they're spelled different is more about the phonetics than it is the actual dialogue of the thing there. So, and we get to see some of the powers they have, how strong they are. Atomic is our super guy. He does all the stuff. He's kind of, like Superman, Shazam, the original Captain Marvel, as he is known, things like that. So these different types of superpowered characters. He's got a lot of different things. And he's Australian too. The thing is that we did make him kind of a dunderhead. So he's a little daft at times. So not much of a brainiac. He's all brawn. But he's fun in that. And then we've got Arachnabat, who's basically is kind of gymnastics type power, stuff like that. Eventually, we'll reveal more powers in these next issues he has, and then he's got after this 5th issue. The next thing I want to do with Scabs will be showing some changes in his character that bring out a whole different aspect of him. So I got a treatment I wrote with John. We sat down, we were talking about it, and I just got to write a full script on it. It was going to be the next arc we wanted to do, and I'm going straight into trades with that one. I'm not going to try to do multiple issues. It'll probably be like 60 pages or something, tell that story. And then we had this idea for a character called Ripple. We really didn't continue on with him, but we'll just drop him in as a great goofy little thing, and then something will happen and it'll reference back to it. Really doesn't matter the story. We were just trying to have fun and be goofy with this stuff. And Ripple definitely makes an appearance here, and goes from there, and kind of didn't really continue on with that as we got into more telling the story of the characters, building the team up and stuff like that. And of course, at the end they have to win. You'll have to read all the dialogue to see all the fun stuff they did there. And then we decided to do this cool little thing at the end of the comics where they get interviewed, because the media doesn't like them because they're not the original Boom Squad. So that's why they get called a bunch of scabs. Same thing with the public. The public's always protesting them, things like that. So that's where that came from. So this is one of the neat things we did, where they all get interviewed at the end, and they, talk about what they did. And basically, it's like even Professor Potion, whose Potions always work right. The guy, asking, so you're part of this team, how, things like that. So it's just some goofy little things like that. We make fun of ourselves through our own characters here too, in different ways. But we want to be heroes, we want to be likable, and that's what they all are, in our opinion, on that. And then of course Foley there, who is, we call him the mascot, but he kind of oversees everything of the Boom Squad and runs that stuff. That's them's his guys. That's his, stuff like that. And then of course we had our epilogue, which sets up a new character. And the name of this book is called Substitutions, and that is the future character known as the Rabbit Infant. and we may see some more of that down the road. We have him shown a couple times through the next couple issues, and we had thought about doing some offshoots with him and stuff like that. And we'll see if I end up doing something with that too down the road. He'll probably be part of the next little arc, just to tie that in a little more. And of course, we always like letters. So boomtownpress.com is still there. It is the same thing as brettpinson.com. I have it all linked together. So that's where you can find me at. And that's where you can email me if you've read the comics. Let me know what you think. If you didn't like them, they get deleted. Uh, but hopefully, I'll like that. A lot of people seem to enjoy our comics. We know we're not professionals. This was the very first one. This has always been our training ground, which was the whole reason we wanted to do comics. We're like, well, let's do this and we'll just call it a training ground. John had always hoped to eventually work for one of the bigger companies, like a Marvel, DC, something like that. He did do the DC tryout in Chicago in 2006. And they gave him some good pointers, things like that. But they weren't actually hiring there. There was more of just a showcase of let's just get a bunch of people to make it look good publicly wise. But we were talking with like the more we do, more we get out to more people who know us, better chance he'll have of getting something in. And I always thought he would get in way before I would as a writer, as an artist. And he had a great cartoony style, and that. And of course, the little image there was our original idea of J&B Creations. And of course, Jonathan was shaving his head, so he's completely bald, which drove some of his relatives that were naturally bald nuts because he had a full head of hair. And then, of course, that's supposed to be me. That's a little thinner, even from now, but with my dark hair and that. But boomtownpress.com, of course, got to have that everywhere people find you. So let's talk characters real quick. How do we come with these characters? We have Arachnabat here, and he's definitely a fun character. And get back over here so I read this easier. And we get it. We bit a little bit off of Spider-Man. I'm not gonna lie on that. So, but we didn't steal Spider-Man, completely. But it's little hints there. He's a pizza delivery guy. Delivers to a place called the Popeil Institute of Advanced Nuclear Innovations and Science Technology, pianist. And the janitor there opted to show some cool stuff. One of the items they came across was a suit that allowed its wearer to climb walls. That's kind of where the suit came from. So it's all about the suit. It's not about being bit and all that stuff so much. It's got his powers. He's an amazing Olympic level gymnast, lightning quick reflexes, black belt multiple arch, things like that. So he had a lot of training beforehand. He's got the might bite, which is something we did introduce later on, stuff like that. So it was definitely a neat little, our version of like a Spider-Man type character, different ones like that. Atomic, of course, is just our super guy. His occupation, he's a crocodile hunter. Of course, the time the crocodile hunter was really big on TV, and I really liked him. But of course, his parent relatives were Levi and Lee Dungaree, which of course you know what that means. I mean, everything. He had a sister named Jordash. So of course, everything was just about tongue-in-cheek humor, parody, things like that. A lot of stuff like that. And then of course, there's Battle Pack. His parents were Thomas and Iris Watkins. Regina Watkins is his sister. Tommy Watkins' nephew. Some of the stuff we throw in there, never going to see it in the comics. It's just fun little have background stuff that we created for ourselves. Instead of throwing it in the back, everybody stuff like that. He was trained by the army, stuff like that. But I also added a little more to his backstory from this. Issue 4 really shows his backstory prior to going into all this, and of course having some training. I didn't get too much of the army training. I just kind of went from one aspect that I don't mention here to not to him actually creating this stuff and going on. And then of course there's Critter. She's a zookeeper, and she can turn into any animal that she can think of. So she it looks like she can turn into it. So we definitely have to do a lot of different stuff through the different issues and that. And then Professor Potion. He is a former high school chemistry teacher. He basically forgets to label his stuff. So he's very thought, he doesn't think much. He's forgetfulness on some of that stuff. So when he's out and fighting, he's like, oh, I wish I'd label this. I forget which one's which. And don't know. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. We'd had a neat thing where we were going to give like about 10 different potions. And then we were going to, as we're writing the script, we're going to roll the dice and see what they came up with. And it kind of changed as we're like, well, as we're writing the story, it's kind of more of a, let's see what happens. And then when we get to a point, we'll talk about that. And some of the stuff was like, we want it to happen, then we don't want it to happen. We want it to mess up, depending on how he's going to think. But he's definitely an integral part of the team. He's kind of the elder leader of the team in some ways. You kind of see that in the next couple of issues, where he's kind of not nobody's really the full leader, but he kind of has that, okay guys, let's go do this, things like that. And he kind of stepping into that little bit of that leadership role, and I think it comes from him being a teacher, and so it kind of just goes from there on that. Um, and then, of course, we wanted to throw in some fun stuff. We had an idea for different people as he's searching the internet, and it just as it fit the book, it just didn't fit in exactly. So it's like, all right, let's see who didn't make the cut. And of course, it shows some of our stuff we like, between goofy superhero stuff, gaming, and of course, Star Wars is always big. So always have been. So we created some fun little guys there. And then, of course, we were trying to sell ad space because we had an extra page. It was 32 pages. We were like, we don't know how to fill all this stuff. And then the back cover was a JB creation, boomtownpress.com. So that's basically Bhutan Scabs number one, and that was the where I got started doing comics. That's how it all kicked off. Since then, I have written 5 total Boomtown Scabs books that are either completed or in the stage of being completed. I have some other notes on other stories, and then it was a few other cool things. So I'm going to share another page here so I can show off a little bit of the adventures of Carl. Like I said, Carl became a spinoff from this. When John passed, I worked with Lane Toth. We created a one full story. I don't think she likes it anymore. She's a little older. She was younger. She was younger then, but it's something that I appreciated her doing with me, and always will cherish that time doing that. She's a great kid. Who's now an adult and on her own thing. So, but here is the Drive-Through Comics, drivetruecomics.com, and I'm going to put this link into the StreamYard here. It's where I have my Boomtown press books for a while. And we have a separate one for Bardstone as well. So you can definitely find Bardstone on the thing to get the Crimson Shadows books I work on, as well as the Paul Macabre and the Wretched Realms. But here is the Adventures of Carl number 1. I'm going to give a quick preview here. And this shows the very first one here. That's the first cover of the first issue we did. I've colorized it since the original black and white printing of it, because we printed it at home, and all I had a color printer, but I only ran black and white to save on the ink and that. And the whole story was just basically Carl is basically being attacked by I think Disney-esque type company, and they're gathering of all these other characters, and there's a little Warner Brothers influence because it's how we're heavily influenced by that stuff there. We create our own characters and that have similar styling, but not exactly, because it is parody stuff. And this was the first issues right here, so you can see the different pages that are available in that, and it's in full color now. You can actually download this book, and it's as a watermark PDF for $9.99 at Drive-Thru Comics. And I do have printed copies available, as well as they're available through Amazon. You should be able to find that on Amazon, and I'll see if I can find that as well as we're talking here today. I haven't looked at that link in a long time. No, not a lot to sell because it's not a high book. So, but let me see. We got Adventures of Carl. See what pops up. Don't see it readily on here. Might be under my name too. Might be no way to find it. I know when you put in my name, a couple things pop up. Nightmare Cinema was a comic I worked on. Like, I'll share this page here because I even have on Kindle Unlimited have some of this stuff here. So we will share this screen next here. Amazon. Here we go. That's me. And share screen. So on Amazon.com, I do have The Expendables, another book I'll talk about here in a bit. I did with Adam Talley. There's my Boomtown Scabs number 1 by John and I. Wolfman Mac Nightmare Cinema. Someone's selling a copy. I don't have copies available to sell. It's $59.99. It's not. I don't think that's signed by me. I think it's signed by Wolfman Mac only. I did some of the writing. Tony did writing and illustrating. Mac did the forwarding, as well as Wolfman Mac. And then it shows the publisher was Fantastic Storytime Entertainment, which was another thing I started with Kevin Lean, and that was one of the things we came out with through that. So not sure who's selling this though. Oh, I see. It's Wonder World Comics. So that's Dennis Barger. Okay. I was wondering who had that up there. Wonder if he even knows it's still up there. So that's that. That's a book I did. That's So I wrote on, and of course there's Boomtown Scabs, and then here's some of the other issues available through the Kindle editions. There it is. There's the paperback. I knew I'd find it. And so for 19.99, you can order this directly through Amazon at this time until I get ready to do some changes. I might do a different version. This is done as a smaller size, so it's done as a digest size. So it's not done as the full size comic. I was thinking about taking it back up to full size to even offer some different options for hardcovers. So I do some special edition hardcovers, things like that. But you can definitely buy this and have it shipped to you. They do what's called print on demand. Now, if you buy it through Amazon, and you come to a Comic Con, you bring it to me, I will happily sign it for you. I will not charge to sign it. When you buy any of my books, I don't charge to sign those. I just sign them for you. I'm not a big enough name to get away with trying to charge, first of all. Second of all, I don't see the need to do that. But this is definitely Carl here. And then a couple of images I see. It's from the beginning and created by John and I, and we went from there. It's collects all 5 of his mini comics. It includes the full length adventure I did with Ms. Lane Toth. And then as well as I threw in the Boomtown Scabs in black and white, number 1, as a bonus to kind of round out the trade a little bit, as a way for people to, if they want to try a couple of things, it's a great way to check out Boomtown Scabs, as well as check out Carl and go from there. But that's for Carl. And as I mentioned, Carl came from issue 1 of Boomtown Scabs. I've talked about, I've got another script to Carl I wouldn't mind doing. I've got another idea for Carl I'd like to do. Hardest part is I'm not a fast artist if I'm drawing it all myself, and I don't have money to start paying people to do stuff. So that's the hard part on getting more stuff out faster. I'd love to have more stuff out, but I don't. Um, so it's stuff I'll eventually want to get out and start working on after I get Scabs 5 done here, which has been the passion project. That's the first full comic I've done by myself, scripting, drawing. I'll be linking, coloring, lettering, all that stuff together, and I'm doing that in memory of John, because he always said I should do my own book as well. I should do one of the books because he always believed that I could do them. Even though I'm not that great of an artist, I try my best at that stuff. That's where different things came through. So, like if you see me at shows, all those prints that I have are stuff that I worked on to teach myself kind of how to draw. Still not very good at it, but I try and I do my best. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that stuff over the years that have seen me there. So that I said, that's the Adventures of Carl. And I don't know what this book reader, that's not me. And that, but definitely check out this here. And then if you have the Kindle Unlimited, you can definitely go on and download some of those books. Now, I'm also tied into the Poe Macabre series here. That's probably why this showed up here, as well as the Creatures and Creators that just finished up the Kickstarter. These prices here are high because it hasn't been released yet, but you have to post it on Amazon, be able to get Amazon to print it for you. So don't buy those for $250. Come see us at a Comic Con. We will have in Indiana the first weekend in May. We should have some of the books, a few hardcovers that are left, as well as soft covers. And then we will have definitely some soft covers of the Post series. We have a couple different covers available. This is the ongoing cover, Amazon edition, and we have a few left of the printed one that we got from Ready Comics, who does our individual Bardstone comics as well. And then my name's not associated with any of this other stuff. And I'm not Bobby Pinson for sure. So definitely you can check this out here. And then if you start going down the rabbit hole of me, I don't know if I pop up here or not. There's 2 pages of me. When you put my name in, it comes up. There's the old Creatures of Creator. It's out of print. Don't have any of those available. But if you look under Amazon Prime, 5 Must Die, you can see me in a movie in the last 45 seconds as well. So a lot of cool stuff there. So let's go back to the drive-through comics. These are all digital comics. So this is it's a cool way to check out a few of the comics. I don't have the Boomtown Scabs up there at this time. I will be putting them back up there eventually here. But what I did was I have the Adventures of Carl Volume 1. So it's the entire thing you get printed. You buy it for $9.99 digitally. And then this has all mini comics, the full length adventure, and the Boomtown Scabs #1. So you can get Boomtown Scabs #1 through that on a digital. But I also included separately for $2.95 just the full length adventure. So that's what it's called, Volume 2, Issue 1. And then for the Expendables, I don't have the full trade up here. You can honestly get that from through the Amazon Kindle. But you can get the individual issues of the Expendables here, which I don't sell those anymore. They are out of print. Once I did the trade, I stopped printing those up, and they're all print on demand. So you can get issue 1, which was a standalone issue. It was designed to be a one-shot, fun little thing. and I had nice reception. I based it on some people I knew at a comic shop, and so decided to go ahead and do a little mini series. I talked with Adam about it, Adam Talley, and it was great working with him. Great friend, appreciated him so much. It was an idea I talked about after John passed, and Adam had messaged me, and I wasn't sure we had met before, but I'm glad I talked to him. Glad we met. Talked at Pittsburgh Comic Con at 2007 a lot, and I showed him this idea, and we worked on this when he had time, and basically for about 4 years, we came out with 4 issues and had a lot of fun with that. A lot of parody, a lot of action, a lot of comedy, things like that. And Adam, of course, is he's somebody who goes, I like to be in the, put myself somewhere in the books. I actually wrote him as a character after he said that. And he goes, well, that's not what I meant, but I hope he still likes that. I put him as a character in that. So definitely check this out. So go to, like I said, that drive through comics. You see the link over here under the comments there, and you can go through and you can download these comics. And I get a percentage of the sales and all that stuff. So all that money goes into my Boomtown / Brett Pinson / Bardstone fund, getting to Comic Cons, buying product, uh, paying to be there, things like that. Because unfortunately, none of that stuff is cheap. So definitely, help us out through that there. Um, so like I said, and then like I said, the Expendables, like I said, I mentioned that a little bit there just a minute ago, but that was just a fun little thing I did. I had the idea before John passed, and because we were sitting around a Comic Con, it was so this would have been 2006, not comic, at the comic shop down in Taylor. We sang on it, and called Comic Talk, and talking with a bunch of guys, and talking about they were killing off Captain America as part of the Civil War comic series. And so I had the idea, so I wrote it down and talked to John about it, and then talked a little bit about it with Kevin Lean, things like that. And so started writing up the first story, and then just for fun, it's all a parody story, like a Death of Superman parody called Death of Awesome Man. And the premise is all these clones are the expendable, which is where they kill off a hero, they replace him with a clone to kill the clone, who then gets regenerated back and talks about all the stuff. So them, it's just a job. So that's why you see like a Star Trek parody of like red shirt people. They go in, they die in red. It's red shirts. They come back. Yeah, give me all the junk I went through today. I made it more of a PG-13, so it wasn't necessarily kid friendly, but it's not bad for kids. There's a little bit of language, nothing bad visually, and that. But that's where the idea from that came from. And of course, then I got it. Talked with in 2007 with Adam. We started working on it. Came out with it in sent off to be printed in like February of 2008, and not so long after that. Sylvester Stallone announced his movie called The Expendables. Has nothing to do with my comic. Nothing at all. It's just a title name, stuff like that. I always joke he stole my title. Someone said I should sue him. I said, well, first of all, I'd probably lose because he's got more money than I do. But other than that, it's what it is. It's just the title. I came out with it, printed it. It's been out there. Did 4 issues. I know they did some Expendables comics related to the movie. I've never heard from anybody. If they want to send me a cease and desist, well, it's too late. I published it before you guys came out with your movie. And they have nothing to do with it. It's just a title, stuff like that. And some people do share some titles here and there. Some get permission, some don't have to have permission. I think if we took before a judge, I'd be like, look, this is when I did it. Here's what it's been. I've made no money on it. So hopefully it's just fine on that. So, and then from, like I said, once you get through buying all my stuff through Boomtown Press here, you can go and search through here. Let me see under publishers. Let's go back to the main page here. We will hit Crimson Shadows. Since and since I still work on a lot of different things, things I don't have available to purchase anymore. I've worked on besides the Nightmare Cinemas comic. I worked on Fat Mama from Who Wants to Be a Superhero. That was the Stan Lee show, 2006 and 7. He actually read the comics because he had to approve them when she did them those years. When I met him in 2009, I mentioned that. He said, I read those. They were good. And he said, yeah, I am a true believer. Believe the story or not, it happened outside of a Outback in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was great. And I saw him the next day. We talked about when he had a great meal, and I got my one of the prints I did on the back wall up there, Spider-Man signed by Stan Lee. So I have that. But under Drive Through Comics as well, you can go on to buy Crimson Shadows, $2.99 an issue. That's a watermark PDF. That's issue number 1 there. And this shows some of the stuff that we have available through our stuff here. We have the Crimson Shadows number 2. We have Crimson Shadows right here, the number 3. And then as well as number 4 is available as well. Those that did the Kickstarter should have gotten those. I do have a cover available of Crimson Shadows number 3 and 4. I have a couple left of the issue 1. I have up to price on those. They're very limited. They have almost sold out. We did very limited runs on all these individual issues. These are all first edition printings. We're not doing print on demand for these, so they will not be available in individual issues once they sell out. So definitely check out those at the shows. Indiana Motor City Comic Con next to it got coming up. I will have stuff at the San Diego Comic Con in Artist Alley, as well as Kevin will be in the small press area under Bardstone with a lot of this stuff as well. So we will update you guys with locations as we get those, so you can come find us there. And then we also have Scott did a book called Wretched Realms. That's through the Bardstone. It's a one-shot comic. Says a Western based on the classic song Renegade by Styx. And then we have some of the Poe stuff. Now, the Poe individual comics, I have 2 sets right now as of today's airing of the show of first edition comics, issue 1, 2, and 3, a couple of variants. But the trade's available too. Trade has an extra story. These don't, but those like to collect comics. I still have a couple of those available. I'll have those at shows. I have them as a set, so you can buy them as a set. But you can buy the digital versions to read individually here. And we have issue 1 there of Poe Macabre Masher. Issue 2, I do have a story in that one. That's when I did the Dream Within a Dream. So you can see Brett Pinson for that. And then Jay Fife did the art for Annabelle Lee, and there was a variant cover available by Sean Forney, which is really cool. And this includes like the Telltale Heart, Annabelle Lee, Lenore, Dream Within a Dream, The Sleeper, and El Dorado. A lot of cool stories there. And then we have that's issue 1, issue 2, issue 3 should be somewhere. Let me pull back up the Bardstone here. And there it is right there. And this is the last one that Kevin has done so far of the Poe series. He hasn't covered every Poe story in Poem out there, so there's a lot more to do. But this is main story is The Mask of the Red Death. A lot of cool stuff there. There's a variant cover created by Scott Zambelli, which we end up using for the trade as well. And Cheryl Lima did the flats of the coloring for Mask of the Red Death. She's done some flats for some of the Crimson Shadows work as well. So we've hired her to do that as different things. So a lot of cool stuff there. So between Bardstone Publishing, you got Boomtown Press, you got a little history of me here today talking about some of this stuff here. Nobody really jumped in, so I haven't really seen any questions. I'm glad I did some people were reviewing, watching here and there. But I hope you guys will check out everything. I'm going to go to one last thing is BrettPinson.com, which is also BoomtownPress.com. And I'm not great at updating. I try to do my best here, but at least here I do have for my appearance schedule. We did the Great Lakes Comic Con back in February, Indiana Comic Con May 5th through the 7th. Motor City Comic Con is May 19th, 21st. I'll be in Artist Alley for San Diego Comic Con. I don't have the dates there, but it's like the 19th of July through that Sunday. Then I will be for the first time in a long time, I'll be back at a Chicago Rosemont convention. That's in August 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. And then 2 weeks later, we're in Colorado Springs. Love that show. Love going to Colorado Springs. That one's right after my birthday. The Fantasy Chicago's right before my birthday. So I do take cash and gifts for my birthday if you want to come see me at the shows. And then we're rounding it out with Fan Expo. Fan X, not Expo, Fan X Salt Lake City. They also do the Indiana show. And then Fantastic on Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'll be there right before Halloween weekend hanging out with Kevin. In fact, Kevin will be at all the shows with me except for Motor City. Motor City, Scott and I will both be set up there, but Kevin should be roaming. So if you were to show up at Motor City and you want to get Kevin to sign something Friday or Saturday, we can definitely get him to sign it for you, one of the books. But he will not be behind the table hanging out. He's just going to be hanging out at the show with us as long as everything goes right. And that kind of rounds out the shows for right now for what we have going on. And then also here, I do have a link to digital comics as well. So you can definitely go and find some of the Expendables. You can go find the Carl. Just click on the covers. Boomtown Press, a little bit of Scabby's Corner, kind of update some stuff here, what's going on there. You can also contact me as well. There's my email, pinson.brett@gmail. Definitely send me some emails. Start spamming. I block you. And then for the podcast, well, you're on it. This is Odd Musings. I stream it through the Odd Musings with Scott. We do it on our own private pages as well as our art pages. So everybody has different aspects to see this. So a lot of cool stuff that I've been doing over the years. Trying to think of what to talk today. I didn't want to get into talking to all the new Star Wars stuff. Scott's not here. Scott and I have talked about that. There's a new trailer for Ms. Marvel. We'll talk about that. We've got to catch up and talk more about the Mandalorian series. Next week is the season finale. I'm not sure it's gonna be the full series finale at this point because they're gonna do a movie, but I don't know if they're gonna do another season before they do the movie, and we'll talk about that a little bit next week when we cover some of the Star Wars stuff. But hey, I hope everybody enjoyed this. Hope you all had fun. I hope you getting to know me a little bit of my comic stuff. Definitely message me. If you can't make it to a Comic Con and you want to buy physical comics, email me at pinson.brett@gmail.com. Go to brettpinson.com. I don't really have a web store set up because it's just tough to maintain and keep going. But if you want to buy something that you may have seen in a show or I've talked about, you want to know a little more of that stuff, send me an email. I will send send you an invoice for anything you want to purchase, and then we can ship that out to you. Some of the comics I may have to at times do reprints of for the Boomtown scabs. I have plenty of issue ones right now, but it's just 2, 3, and 4. I do have to do reprints at times. And then once I get that all done, I'm doing a trade right away. So trades will be available down the road here this year, as well as issue 5 individual for those that like the individual issues I've been collecting. We'll still have that aspect. And the trade will just collect the entire run. I may throw a few fun bonus materials in the back. There won't be any bonus stories or anything like that. But definitely join us next week. So I'm gonna wrap up here. Scott should be back next week, hopefully. We try to keep updated with them, but of course, day jobs take precedence. That's what pays the bills. I'll be back doing my gig job tomorrow, doing some shifts. So if you're in the Ann Arbor area and you see me out and about, that's probably what I'm doing. Wearing my black polo that I'm not wearing today, and we'll get some things going there. But appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining in. Odd Music as always. Join us next week, 10 a.m. and we should both be back here. We'll talk some other fun stuff. Adios.